So at this point you should have a pretty decent torch hand, keeping all your angles the same as you move through, and you should know how to do lay wire pretty good. Now what we're going to get into is dipping. This is going to get us into the whole stack of dimes look. But when you are dipping, it's relatively similar to lay wire, but what you're doing is you're actually keeping your filler metal a little bit away from the leading edge, the leading toe edge of your puddle, and every time you travel a certain distance, you just dip in, keeping it right at the front of the puddle. Now for this exercise, we're working on 1/8 inch material, so what we're going to do is we're going to puddle up about 1/8 inch like we did before, and then we are going to feed our puddle, pull away a little bit, move an 1/8 inch, feed it again, pull away, feed it again, pull away, feed it again, pull away. Now, when you're pulling back on your filler metal, a couple of things. You don't want to pull away too far. If you pull away too far, first thing that's going to happen is your filler metal is going to oxidize more because you're pulling it out of the protection of the shielding gas. But at the same time, you pull away too far, it's harder to see putting your filler metal back into where the puddle is. So you got to keep it right in front of that toe edge of the puddle so you can see where you're dunking it in and being able to feed that puddle. Now the other thing is when you are doing any kind of TIG, you want to make sure that your tungsten stays really close to your puddle. If you pull away, you're going to have an indentation and your puddle is not going to be established enough where you can get your filler metal in there. It's going to reduce the front toe edge of the puddle. It's also going to make it a little cooler. So you really want to focus your arc really close to the puddle, keeping it nice and hot so you can feed it. All right, so what we're gonna do first, just like I said before, it's pretty much just like the other two exercises. We're making the same size bead, but what we wanna do is start the puddle first, feed it right away as soon as it gets to that 1/8 inch, and then we wanna move 1/8 inch, and every time we move about an 1/8 inch, we want to dip in with our filler metal, keeping the filler metal close to the front toe edge of your puddle. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna demonstrate. So if you're staying nice and even and you're keeping your edges consistent, you're feeding every 1/8 of an inch or so, you're gonna notice the ripples are about every 1/8 of an inch. That's every time I put roughly about an 1/8 inch of filler metal into my puddle, I have moved about an 1/8 of an inch, trying to keep that formula. You can see that I have nice even edges, nice even ripples every 1/8 of an inch or so. I went a little off right there, but I'll give myself about a B on that one. But for a demonstration of what I want you to accomplish is just keeping that consistent. Every single time you move it about an 1/8 of an inch, dip in a little bit, feeding your puddle. Now, you're gonna wanna do this quite a bit. Do this a couple of dozen times. You can just practice. You can make any kind of designs you want. You can spell your name, but this is the essence of the art of TIG welding, is being able to feed your puddle as you move through your weld. Now, filler metal. If you had noticed, the distance of my filler metal is roughly about 6 or 7 inches. That's where I like it. There's a lot of people that have a lot of different personal preferences in this regard. I see a lot of people, they have their filler metal way out like this. I don't do that. I have a very short distance for my filler metal as I feed. I like being closer. The reason for that is you can see this guy wobbling around back here. If this is a little too much distance, what happens is this wobble makes this wobble. So it'll shake around on you and it's harder to control the filler metal going into your puddle. So it's gonna wander on you. Try to keep this within, I would say 6 Anywhere from 6 to 9 inches is roughly where I like to keep it. Also depends on how hot your arc is. Maybe you want this hand a little further away to keep the back of your fingers cooler. But remember, try to keep that nice and even, dipping as you go. And that's the dip.